Hey, it's Matt Decker with Leveraged Wealth Management. So I got another video here today, and what I'm going to be doing is something that I get a ton of requests for, and that is showing an indexed universal life insurance policy compared to the S&P, and specifically compared to the S&P with dividends using the actual S&P rate of return and having that S&P rate of return housed inside a Roth IRA with no fees whatsoever at all. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. But before I go ahead and do that, I just want to say a few things up front. I know exactly what's going to happen. There are going to be people that see this and they're going to think that I cherry picked a date or an age. And the truth of the matter is, of course I picked a date. I have to. If I'm using the S&P rate of returns, I have to choose a start date and an end date. So what I did is I chose the average age of my client, which happens to be 43 years old. It's about the average age of my typical client. So I chose a 43-year-old person, and I used the last 22 years of the S&P data with dividends, okay? Last 22 years of S&P data with dividends. Now, why did I use the last 22 years? Because 22 years from now, a 43-year-old is going to be 65. And once they turn 65, if they're using this account for income, they are not going to have 100% of their money sitting in the S&P. So it does not make sense for me to continue to show S&P returns past age 65 once they start taking income out of this contract, because they're going to move money into safer vehicles, safer investments, and really they're going to be doing that along the way. They're not just going to all of a sudden do it all at once at age 65. They're going to start doing it probably once they hit 58, 59. They're going to start getting more and more conservative the closer they get to retirement. I'm not doing any of that. I'm assuming full participation in the S&P with dividends for 22 years until they hit 65, and then we're going to find them an account that guarantees 5% a year. Still, no fees. Okay, so let me just show you what I'm looking at here. I use a software that has the ability to just kind of project some of these things. So you'll see here, I've got no sales charges. If I wanted to put in sales charges, I'd click that box and I'd choose the sales charge. I'm not doing that. There's no management fees. If I wanted to add a management fee, I click that box and I say, oh, they're going to charge them 1% a year. Okay, I'm not doing that. No sales charges, no management fees, no guaranteed principal fee, no annual admin fee, nothing. Okay, there are absolutely no fees on this policy, this product whatsoever. I'm comparing that to an IUL. Now, I know that the next thing that somebody's going to say is, well, that's not fair because you're showing the S&P with the negative returns compared to an IUL, and you're just showing a levelized 6.23% every single year. And that's absolutely right. I am doing that. And the reason I'm doing that is because the software won't actually allow me to go in and put years where it caps out and years where you get a zero. But I'm going to show you that on an Excel sheet later. Okay, this is full disclosure. I'm not hiding anything here. This is straightforward as it gets. So we've got our 43-year-old. They're putting in $100,000 a year into this policy, and you might be thinking, $100,000 a year, who does that? A lot of people actually do. I have a lot of clients that are putting in close to or over $100,000 a year into these policies. And you can see here, column 3 is going to be our actual S&P returns. And so if we're going back 22 years, this year number 1 is 1996, I believe. So 1996 going forward, up to 2017, 2018, which is right there. That's the last year of our S&P returns, and then we're going to switch to a levelized 5% guaranteed every single year, no market losses the rest of the time. Okay, so this is as straightforward as it's going to get. So there's a couple things that you'll notice. Number 1, you will notice that your account value is going to grow faster than the account in the S&P. So the account value in the S&P is going to grow faster than the account value in your life insurance policy, as you should expect, because the life insurance policy does have fees and it has surrender charges. The S&P is assuming no fees and it has a higher upside. And in these first 3 years, the IUL is not showing you 33, 28, 21. Okay, so of course, yes, the S&P account is going to show you a higher account value, and the IUL is going to show you a lower account value. Now, that totally changes if we're showing a qualified account, Because if this is a qualified account, we would have to net out the effect of taxes upon withdrawals on this. But again, we're assuming that you're putting $100,000 into a tax exempt account. So think a Roth IRA that would allow you to do that. Maybe we're doing a $100,000 Roth conversion every year for 22 years. I don't know anybody that's done that, but let's just assume that that's what we're doing, because this is taxed like a Roth. If it was tax deferred, these numbers obviously would be much different. Okay. So you can see here you got your 3 years of zeros. This is 2000 to 2002, I believe. And then you've got 2008 right there. And then last year, -4 because of the end of the year in December 2018, the market took a fall there in December. So those are the only negative years that we're showing. That's the S&P data. It is what it is. I didn't change it. I can't apologize for it because it is what it is. And so what we're trying to do, again, you've seen these before, we're doing an IUL and a maximum stream of income on the IUL. That happens to be $452,000 a year. That's tax-free, and we're doing that without market risk. Now you're going to say, yeah, but you're showing a levelized 6.23% every single year, and I told you that we'll get to that, so just hang on. But $452,000 a year. Now the question becomes, how long can we take that $452,000 a year out of this pseudo Roth IRA account, assuming that we never lose any money, but we get 5% every single year in retirement, which is a conservative assumption. And by conservative, I mean I'm being conservative. I don't think you're going to get 5% every single year with no market losses in retirement. But let's just say that you were able to do that. You were able to find that account. How long can the money last, comparing the IUL income to the pseudo Roth income showing S&P returns for the first 22 years? And if there were any fees on this illustration, you'd see it right here. There'd be a fee disclosure. There is no fee disclosure because there are no fees on the Roth IRA. Zero. No management fees, no sales charges, no admin fees, nothing. Zero fees. Completely free of any and all fees. And if we go to the next page, you'll see that basically you can mirror that income until age 83, and then you completely run out of money. And in your IUL policy, you still have $2 million left over in cash, and that income actually continues forever as long as you live. Okay. Now, I told you that I was going to show you something that was not a levelized 6.23%. Now, the only way that I can actually do that is by using Excel. So what I've done here is I've taken the returns from the S&P. So these are the same returns that we were showing on the S&P account, and I'm comparing them to the blended index on these policies that is made up of the Dow Jones, the Euro Stocks, Russell, and the Barclays Aggregate U.S. Bond Fund. So it's a fixed weight of those 4 index options. It doesn't change. It does not include dividends. These are the actual returns of that blended index for the same last 22 years. Okay. So what I did then is I went in and I said, all right, well, if we had this blended index, how would this policy perform? So the accounts, or rather the columns that you need to key in on, this right here, this is the accumulation value on the comparison that we just looked at. Okay, so that's the numbers that we just looked at. What you're looking at here is going to be the index credits on the policy that we just looked at based on the levelized return. And this bonus that you're seeing right here is the bonus that you're looking at. It's a guaranteed bonus based on the levelized 6.23%. So the question becomes, once we enter in the years where you cap out and the years where you get zero, like you can see right here, and in 2008, 2015, and in 2018. So this account actually has more zeros than the S&P. It has one more, which would be right here. So it has more zeros than the S&P, but we have a 15.5% cap on the upside. So if we actually go in and enter that into this policy, what is going to be the difference in the account value when we show the difference between the levelized 6 point whatever percent return and how the policy would have actually performed, similar to what we're doing with the S&P? And you can see that right here. So we have our old accumulation value on the left, we have our new accumulation value on the right. And it's very easy to see. Old accumulation, new accumulation. So the old value was $4.7 million. The new value is $5.2 million when we enter in the zeros and the years where you cap out. And if you want to see the difference in the credits between the years, you can see it right there. So obviously in the years where you get a 0, or in the years where the actual credit was lower than the levelized return that we're showing, I'll say that again. So in the years where the credit was either 0 or lower than the levelized return, so that would be 2000, that would be 2001, 2002, 2004, because we were showing 6 point something and only got 5.7, so that's less. That would be 2005, 2007, 2008, 2011, 2014, 15, and 18. So in those years, the credit that we would have received would have been less than the credit that we assumed on the policy, because again, we assumed a level return on the policy. In all the years where you see the black, those are the years where the actual credit that you would have got would have been larger than the levelized return on the policy. And if you were to sum all of this up, the difference would be the difference between the $5.2 million and the $4.7 million. And as you can see, the policies actually performed much better when you enter in the zeros and the years where it caps out. Now, I know that this is a pretty technical conversation, and this is not something that you've seen every day, and I had to do it on Excel because the policies don't actually let me go in and put in 15%, which is a good thing. You don't want them to be able to do that, because that would mean I could go in and really manipulate the numbers. So looking at the levelized rate of return is actually showing you something more conservative than what actually happened over the last 22 years. But even based on the more conservative levelized rate of return that's lower than what actually happened for the last 22 years, your Roth IRA account with 0 fees showing S&P returns with dividends for the first 22 years runs out of money at age 83. Your IUL keeps going. Now, does this mean that an IUL is better than the S&P? No, of course it doesn't mean that. They're totally different and they do different things. If you're looking for something to grow some money for 10 to 15 years and then you want to take it all out at once, well, I guess this is a bad example, because in 15 years, it's reeling from 2008. So let's just say you want to do something in year 11. So we avoid this loss in 2008. So let's look at year 11, because again, I want to be objective here. You'd have $1.6 million in the S&P. You'd have $1.3 million in the IUL. So if this is a short-term strategy and you want to grow a bunch of money quickly, I suppose you'd be better off choosing the S&P fully invested with dividends if you can find it with absolutely 0 fees. And I mean 0 fees. You'd have about $300,000 more. But again, 2008 happens, and then all of a sudden, you have $1 million instead of $1.5 million. So I don't know. But the bottom line is an IUL better than the S&P? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is on a risk-adjusted basis, meaning the IUL is way less risky than the S&P, because you don't have to worry about negative years. Yes, you still have fees coming out. You don't have to worry about -9, -11, -22. That doesn't happen. So if you can generate more income or the same income for longer, in a policy that has less risk, if your goal is maximum income, why wouldn't you consider the policy that has less risk? The question that I ask almost all my clients is, how much risk should you be taking with your money? And most people don't have a good answer for that. Most people will say, well, I don't know. And what I tell them is, the answer is this: you should take no more risk than you have to. You should take no more risk than you have to. Why would you? Why would you take more risk than you need to take? And so what that means in this conversation is, if you can get the same income for longer in a vehicle that has less risk, why wouldn't you take advantage of it? And again, this is as rosy a picture as it's going to get, because I'm not retiring in 2009 on the heels of a negative 37%. I'm actually retiring after, the best decade in recent memory. Okay, retiring after the best decade in recent memory, and still the policy can't keep pace. And I'm showing 0 losses in retirement. So again, the question becomes, Is the IUL a panacea? No, it's not. It's for, relatively high earners that are looking for places to stash money on a tax advantage basis that is not exposed to the market. Is this for somebody that can put away $100 a month? No. $150 a month? No. $200 a month? No. This is for somebody that can put away more money than that. This is for somebody that's looking for a way to diversify away from market risk. And in terms of a risk-adjusted return, in terms of how much risk you have to take to generate the kinds of returns that this can generate, in my mind, the IUL is as good as it gets. I hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions at all, you can always go to the website. You can send me an email, or you can just apply for a review. www.leveragewm.com/IUL-review. I will link it in the comments below. I will also pin a comment and put it in the description so that you can go there. www.leveragewm.com/IUL-review. It's going to ask you 3 or 4 questions. It's going to see if you're a fit for an IUL, and then basically it's going to get you in touch with me. We'll put a time on the calendar and we can go through exactly what you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve, how much money you have to work with, what your time horizon is, how much risk you're willing to take, and we can have a conversation to see if this is a right fit for you. It's not a right fit for everybody, but for a lot of people, this is a great fit. If you haven't done so already, like this video, subscribe to my channel. Everything that you do there helps get the word out to other people that are in this same boat. If you've watched my channel before, you know that these policies can be one of the best things you own. They can also be one of the worst things that you own. The most important thing when working with an index universal life insurance policy is making sure that it's structured the right way, minimum commissions, minimum fees, maximum cash, and maximum income. Most advisors and agents out there do not structure these policies for minimum commission and minimum fee. They structure them for maximum commission and maximum fee. Surprise, surprise. So it's important that you're working with somebody that knows what they're doing, that's really structuring this to benefit you and not themselves. So again, like this video, subscribe to my channel, comment below. Thanks so much for the time, and I look forward to talking with you soon. Take care.